Eric, this is your summer challenges slides. You can keep referring back to these and or working with the Google Classroom. Again, we're only going to work with Google Classroom just this summer since Schoology is being prepared for August. And I don't have access to that, and you don't either right now, not for our classroom information. So we're going to work with this through the first week, I guess, of school. And then once that world gets set up and we start doing some challenges at school, then we'll transfer over to Schoology with everybody else. But this is sort of the easiest way to do it through July and part of August. So if you go up to what I see here as my classroomgoogle.com, this is what you would type in. You can click on this. It's a link and it'll take you there. You can add, if you need to sign into the class, this is the class code to add. And then I do have just sort of a general purpose Zoom link for us when and if we need to go face to face to communicate. And at any time, if you want to send me an email that says, hey, can we talk about this? Sure, we can email me and we can set up a time that we can Zoom and go over anything that might be confusing or curiosity that you might have. And so I've got all of the ID stuff there. All right. So there's basically 4 challenges for the summer, for this month, as you start to kind of look forward to getting back into school. Challenge 1 deals with you getting to know what the AP portfolio looks like. The biggest important function of the AP portfolio that is required is the area called sustained investigation. And it's basically a collective work of art, 15 slides that'll be filled with showing growth of an idea or a concept or a feeling or a mood. I know it sounds very vague, but we'll start to get into a little bit more specifics on this later. But think of it as something themed that you are going to continue to grow, to explore, to try new mediums, to try new digital ways of advancing an idea or a thought, so that you can show that you've grown over this year through your idea and thought. So I know it sounds a little bit vague at this point. However, in the Google Classroom, I have sort of a document that gives you a little bit of an overview of what it is and what it isn't. And so the first challenge 1, is to be looking at that document that I've given you, and it's going to have some past student works. The portfolio changed 2 years ago. And so my current students, Leo Biaggi and James Teague, who just graduated, were the first ones that I've had do this brand new portfolio. They adjusted and they tweaked things. And so I only have their work really set up as sustained investigation is the title of one of their sections, and selected works. In the other portfolio examples, you're going to see the words will say a concentration of work, which is what sustained investigation became, and quality works. So the terminology is a little bit different when you see some of these portfolios, but the idea is that I want you to look at some of the past students' work. Some are digital, some are not. I know you're going to be focusing more on some digital stuff as well, but just kind of gives you an idea of, I guess, the quality of work that they're looking for. And then once you've looked at these portfolios, I'm going to have you do a little bit of compare and contrast in finding some elements of art, where you see some of those things happening in their artwork. Where do you see things that seem very thematic? Do you feel like some of the portfolios kind of grew with their knowledge? So it's kind of getting an overview of seeing other students' work who've worked at this level. And so the link to get to that on the Google Classroom is here. But again, you could go directly to Google Classroom and see the Challenge 1 folder. And the portfolios are on the first document that I'm providing you with. And then the second document is where you're going to write your kind of reviews with some of my prompting questions, all right, to kind of get you thinking about what some of these guys have created with their artwork. Again, specifically when you look at Leo and James's artwork, their portfolios that you see are directly from the website that after we submitted them in May, you can see how they've had to write next to some of their artwork the process that they went through, the materials they used, and some of the ideas behind their artwork. And you'll see that there's a written statement, which you'll end up writing come April, that kind of supports your investigation and your themes of things for this year. So once you've gotten to see a little bit about a portfolio and ideas behind it, challenge 2 for much of July is to take photographs. Remember that when everything we work for on this portfolio needs to be of original quality and content. So getting used to taking pictures, but taking interesting pictures, not just like point and click, but consider the composition of how you're going to take it, or crop it so it has an interesting kind of rule of thirds point of view where there's some emphasis and all. So I have a prompt sheet, and there are several folders in Google Classroom. Again, you can get to it by this link down here at the bottom. And you're going to take 80 pictures this month. I know it sounds crazy, doesn't it? But there are so many different themes in which I'm going to ask that you take some photographs. And there is a chart for you to check off. So once you kind of take, I'd suggest taking like 10 pictures at a time, because Google Classroom only allows you to upload 10 images into a turn-in submission folder. So we're breaking things up into 10. All right. And there's everything from automobiles to landscapes to food, you name it. There's so many different topics. There's architecture. So if you go somewhere, have your phone with you, take an interesting picture, maybe look at cropping some stuff later. Maybe there's an awesome sunset, or maybe there's a really cool rainbow or something that happens after it rains and it's sunny. But I want you to capture as many original pictures as you can. And we'll do a little something with these later, but there are also things that you can come back to for resources that you might be able to use again, rather than us going to the internet and having to search for a limited amount of things that are free for us to use. Again, originality is going to be the key to this year, so that we are not plagiarizing any part of our artwork. Challenge 3, all right, is looking more closely at sustained investigation. And this handout is going to show you a little bit more about what it is, a little bit further, a little bit more detail. It's going to prompt you to look at some portfolios and to find elements of art in some of these. And so again, this is going to lead us into sort of, let's get to know sustained investigation even more. Again, it is going to be 60%, this idea of creating work that kind of flows from one idea design to the next idea, and what can I do different to enhance it? What unique techniques can I utilize to get my idea across further? It's going to be a year of taking some idea and sustaining it, hence the sustained part, right? And playing out all different really cool, different pushes creatively, digitally, maybe hands-on and digitally, maybe laser designed and digitally, all these different ways that we can kind of grow an idea for the whole year. It's crazy, I know. But it's the idea is that all of the artwork shouldn't look the same. It should show that you've tried and experimented and grown into the next creative idea. And so it's going to be something that at the beginning of the semester here, we'll sit down and I'll have you fill out some handouts and all that. We'll get into what is a sustained investigation and what are some of my personal likes and dislikes. And we'll start to narrow some things down in your life that you might want to focus on, or you have interests in, that you want to explore and investigate visually within your artwork. So we'll start to get into more of that, but this link here will take you to the challenge 3 to look at that sustained idea, because it's going to sustain us the whole next 11 months, of where am I going to kind of keep driving my creativity, and making sure that we show the strength of the elements and principles of design in my artwork every time I come up with a new idea. So this is going to kind of set you into another exploration mode. Challenge 4, okay, for you to kind of improve and explore digitally through this whole year, I want you to get a little bit more savvy at the Photoshop skills. You're very strong in the Illustrator and the drawing skills. Most of what we've done so far in our graphic design classes have all been very much built around a lot of Illustrator strength, because that's where a lot of it tends to be. But pulling in some of that artistic knowledge for a portfolio, we need to kind of find some more unique roots in Photoshop skills. So on the next slide, I have several sites that you can try and click on. You can search them out yourself to enhance your Photoshop skills. What I'm going to ask is that you complete and submit at least 4 tutorials that you find or work with. Upload those outcomes to me here on Google Classroom. All right. So these are just some that I started searching out myself, all right, that I thought were kind of interesting. You can click on some of these if any of these, pique your interest, or if they lead to you clicking somewhere else on the internet and wanting to try something else with Photoshop, or another side interest with Photoshop. But I want you to really try some tutorials. Sorry about that. My dogs are barking. I want to try some more Photoshop skills so that you kind of have some more arsenal underneath your belt artistically, that we can then maybe even play with some more with whatever your investigation might end up being. Because visual communication is all about graphic design, and visual photos and how you can manipulate them and play with them is going to be a really strong key for you. So have a little fun. You can still sign in to, Photoshop the way we have been, using it at home. You're still good. Your account's still good. We're going to keep using your account, this whole year the way it is, so we don't have to change anything as far as I've been told. So let me know if something goes wonky and you can't get into it, but you should be able to use it all this year. And so really focusing on Photoshop skills. So one of the things I would suggest is, if you can, I know some of the Photoshop tutorials will give you the pictures that they used and say, here, you can use these pictures, and that's great. Maybe you do that, but then maybe, if you then use that concept on your own photographs or other pictures that you merge together, then that's something we could even look at putting into your portfolio already. Okay. So I'm not saying that using their photos for those photo tutorials is a bad thing. That I'm just saying that, if you really like that technique or something, try it out on something else and be creative, and then you can upload that too, and say, hey, this one is my original photographs or my own pictures, and that makes it something that we can then submit if we so choose. All right. So those are your 4 challenges for July. Lots of pictures. 2 parts are looking at really what is a portfolio and what is a sustained investigation, kind of evaluation stuff, and looking at other students' works. And then we have the honing in on your Photoshop skills. So those are those 4 big areas really. So what is the future of your 2D path? Okay. Elements and principles of the design are the biggies. They're kind of the structure of all things two-dimensional. Now, of course, we have our CRAP in graphic design, our contrast, repetition, alignment, and proximity, right? We have our CRAP. So between our CRAP and our elements and principles of design, those are all the things that we're going to kind of really have to show them how much we understand. So you're going to start to observe, you're going to start to read and watch and explore all year these different concepts. We're going to start playing with some different challenges in the fall that I'm going to give you, as well as you starting to kind of produce some of your own interesting developments based on whatever we end up narrowing down that you decide to have as your sustained investigation. Line, of course, is the basics of all of our artwork, and so we'll start with a little bit of some line exploration. We are, yes, wait for it, gonna do some things that are hand-drawn or worked with a ruler. I know. Because there are some things that you might want to do that involve collage or manipulating photographs. I could see, the opportunity for exploring and experimenting with putting images or pictures on the laser cutter and having them, you create the design and the pattern in which they're cut. I could see weaving and producing different kinds of principles of design explorations. So I think there's a lot of different stuff that we can do, technical, digital, and hands-on, merging all together. So don't be afraid of some studio activities that might lend themselves to other ways that we can, again, explore and show personal growth. AP is all about, they want to see that you have personally grown and you have explored, and exploring through different mediums is a biggie. So we'll work on some of that. So deep breath. You'll have a combination of work that we'll kind of play with this year, and we're going to really push the boundaries of your experiences in the digital world and some other mediums. Again, if you have questions, let me know, all right? And then I will do my best to kind of meet with you if you need to meet.